Hi and welcome to the channel. Now what I thought I'd like to do is something a little bit different, and we'll see how it goes, is to do some profiles on my favourite guitarists. This is probably going to be a labour of love because I do love my guitarist. Way back when I started listening to music seriously in the late 60s, early 70s, I just loved my guitar players. Back then, I guess we were so lucky because every major band seemed to have a great lead guitarist. On these profiles, I'll be discussing my favourite moments of each player and including links in the description to those videos on YouTube. So the first guy I'd like to have a look at is Donald Buck Dharma Roeser. Donald was born in Queens, New York on November the 12th, 1947. His father was an accomplished jazz saxophonist, so Don spent a long time listening to jazz as he grew up. His first instrument was actually the accordion, but as he said, by the time I reached 10, I did realise that the accordion was not a cool instrument. In the early 60s, the rock and roll bug bit Donald big time, and he started to learn the drums. But while playing basketball, he broke his wrist. While recovering from that, and still with his wrist in a cast, he picked up his brother's acoustic guitar. And by the time the injury had healed, Don had decided he was now a guitar player. Donald never took a formal lesson, and is totally self-taught. He learned, like a lot of guys back then, by playing along to stuff from records. As Buck moved through high school, he played in various cover bands, mostly playing the Stones, the Kinks, and surf music, slowly figuring out his own guitar style. On moving to Clarkson University in New York, he met Albert Bouchard, and they played together throughout their college years. Buck remembers of that time. When we were in college, where we were coming from was the incredibly rich English pop of that period. We were doing a lot of Animals, Kinks, Stones, Beatles, but we got into blues big time. We were blown away by the Blues Project. We were in college in upstate New York, almost in Canada, and we used to make an 8-hour drive to New York City at least once a month to see bands like Paul Butterfield and the Blues Project, who were basically New York white guys playing the blues. We thought, hey, we can do that. One of the biggest influences on Buck's guitar playing was the Blues Project's guitarist, Danny Kalb. When asked about Danny's influence on his guitar playing, Buck replied, "Big time. His speed was blazing. After seeing Kalb, I went into an intense woodshed period. I would play all day long, learning his licks. Once I learned his stuff, I could play very fast in general. So he was a very big influence on my playing and in the evolution of my technique." On leaving college, Buck and Albert formed the Soft White Underbelly. The band went through a series of changes, eventually ending up as the Blue Oyster Cult in 1971. Buck says, when we started out, we wanted to sound like those Californian psychedelic bands that we thought were so cool, though eventually we opted for a much heavier sound as the band morphed into Blue Oyster Cult. Here in the UK, especially around the period 1972 to 1974, the Blue Oyster Cult were very underground. No one here knew much about them, and when they were mentioned in the press, they were pretty much dismissed as a poor man's Black Sabbath. 1974's Secret Treaties started to change that perception, but it was the live album in 1975, On Your Feet or On Your Knees, that really made an impact here and became the band's first top 30 album in the USA. Right from the very early days, the band forged their reputation as a dynamic live act, opening for such acts as diverse as the Byrds, Alice Cooper and the Mahavishnu Orchestra. Back then, in the early 1970s, the competition was fierce, and if you are a support band and your second even third on the bill, you don't have much time to create an impression. You don't have much time for people to listen to you and to remember your name. So when you get out there, you have to be bang on the money. And the boys certainly did that. But listen to Buck as a lead guitarist. Nothing is wasted, nothing is superfluous. Few guitarists can get straight into the groove like Buck. While I love On Your Feet or On Your Knees, there are better examples of the Blue Oyster Cult playing live around this time. But, like I said, it did create a massive wave and people started to sit up, listen and take notice. As well as being an exceptional guitarist, Buck could sing lead vocals, he could harmonise and he could write great songs. So for my first example, I'm going to take a track off of On Your Feet or On Your Knees, Buck's classic. Then came The Last Days of May. The link for this track will be included in the description. It showcases all of Buck's talents, lead guitar, vocals and of course great songwriting. I can remember the first time I heard this, I was sitting in my room and I just said, wow, what the hell is this? It's an atmospheric, spooky song about a drug deal gone wrong. Straight from the opening seconds, you get Buck's beautiful lyrical guitar playing. So much feel in every note as it pours out of the speaker. Just the right amount of light and shade, soft then heavy. The rest of the band perfectly in sync with Buck. Alan Lanier's eerie synth lines, the Bouchard brothers rhythm section with Buck every step of the way, and Eric Bloom providing lovely rhythm guitar. And you can see what I mean when I say Buck never wastes a note. Even after 45 years of listening to this song, the hairs on the back of my neck still stand up. On Your Feet or On Your Knees abounds with great Buck solos, but one piece off the album I remember that really grabbed the attention of my guitar playing buddies was the Freddie King inspired instrumental Buck's Boogie, which allowed Buck to show off the full range of his blistering fretboard skills. 1976 and the album Agents of Fortune propelled BOC into stadium fillers, into megastars. But it was the Buck Dharma pen single, the classic Don't Fear the Reaper, More Cowbell, that paved the way for that success. Now, as much as I love Agents of Fortune, it's the next album, 1977 Spectres, that contains some of Buck's finest playing, as he turns in one great performance after another. Track 3, the beautiful Death Valley Nights. This starts off languid and drifting, speeds up for the chorus, then slows down again, and then speeds up for the next chorus. But it's when Buck enters at 2 minutes 26 seconds and takes his solo. He takes the song to another level. His solo is short and sweet, and at 2 minutes 41 seconds, back comes Albert Bouchard's lead vocals and the band's gorgeous harmonies, with Buck just behind. Buck then plays Call and Response with Albert's lead vocals, pouring out one incredible guitar line after another. I think when the band finished recording this track, Buck must have put his guitar down for a while to let that fretboard cool off. I remember reading a guitar article a little while ago, and this guy was saying, yeah, Buck Dharma, he was pretty fast for a 70s guy. Huh? Listen, Buck can play as fast as anybody, but what Buck does is go for feel. That's his main priority. It's feel, lyricism and melody. Yeah, he can fire up and down that fretboard like a demon if he wanted to, but Buck is not about that. The next track is Searching for Celine, which boasts an almost funkadelic type bass line from Joe Bouchard, Buck following it on Wah Wah. At 1 minute 34 seconds, Buck delivers another awesome, precise solo, somehow keeping the funky rhythm going at the same time. But note the last minute or so of the song. the band take off into almost jazz rock territory. Listen to those lovely, jazzy, fluid guitar runs from Buck. Maybe they did pick up something from those dates with the Mahavishnu Orchestra. One thing I'm going to have to do is going to have a word with Jules Geranius and see if he's got the longer version of that jam, because the band are on fire. For my last Buck Dharma moment, Buck Dharma track, I'd like to go to another cut from Spectres. I Love the Night. This is almost a solo Buck Dharma piece, and why this wasn't a huge hit, I'll never know. I think personally it's a better song than Don't Fear the Reaper. It has a magnificent melody, harmonies to die for, but it's Buck's incredible playing, yet again, that really makes this track. Buck utilises an array of different guitar tones as he knocks out one great solo after another, showing, like I said, he can shred with the best if needed, but when it comes down to feel, few can touch Mr. Buck Dharma. I've always had the feeling that the groove Buck gets into on this track with the solos, I feel he could have just played on all night, hour after hour after hour. It's just such a wonderful groove that he gets into. So I'm going to leave a link in the description to the album Spectres, because if you haven't heard it and you love great guitar playing, like I say, it's just full of great Buck Dharma moments. So here in 2020, Buck is still a huge part of the band Blue Oyster Cult, and hopefully 2021 the boys get back to touring again, and if you get the chance, please go and see Blue Oyster Cult, because Buck Dharma is one of the greatest guitarists you will ever see. I sound like a broken record now, but when he's in that groove, there are few who can match him. And when Buck takes flight, especially during live performances, it's something to behold. So if the opportunity arises, please go and see the Blue Oyster Cult. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. This is still a fantastic band. They've just come out with one of their finest albums. So, like I say, trot along. You won't be disappointed. You'll see a great band, and see what I mean when I say when Buck takes flight, there are few who can match him. When I was doing the research for this video, I came across this little piece, and I thought it would be a lovely way to finish the video. In 1996, Buck heard about Ricky Browning, a 10-year-old fan of Buck's Godzilla, who was battling a brain tumour. Buck organised a benefit concert to help with the family's medical costs. Buck and his wife Sandy, drummer John Michelli, and bassist Danny Miranda played the concert under the name the Buck Dharma Band. Buck taped the concert and released a video of it, which includes the story of Browning. Browning unfortunately succumbed to his illness. Buck and his family still have a close relationship with the Browning family. Thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please post any comments in the comment section below, and if the response is good for this video, I'll start doing some more on my other favourite guitarists, and I hope you like them. Take care, and like I said, thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay well,